Yes, I have everything. I have everything.
Have everything, Mirna, where is? Mirna grand just dead, name dead good yet, and I know you want to pick for left we family. I know you want to pick for abandon we for this Spanish. You think she accept you or your picky head? That what you think? You can't be like she no matter how hard or trying on Mirna. You think they will accept you? That what I like it you think the whole you different from we because you clear black.
Ellsworth, make I tell you something. We in a new times now, and people like you need to accept that.
Martina, why you try call this try for your family for?
You not try blame me for nothing.
Because your family abandon you because you want to have a one black man. You think the whole you not racist. You know you are my cousin as a token
Listen
friend.
to me, you don't know half of my life. You don't know all the sacrifices where I've been through, everybody where I had to leave behind, my friends, my family. So you not come and bring me into this.
I know you can never feel what we feel. Anywhere you go, they watch by you and say, hi, hello, good morning. Any job you want for you. Anywhere with me as you walk in, they say black first. You will never understand that.
Wait. Ellsworth, you not got no job because you black. You not got a job because you're too lazy. Lazy, get it right. Look at me, Ellsworth. I black and I got a job. Not because I well educated and I open up myself to new experiences, people and language. Means I had to try escape from my culture and my blackness.
You think they will accept you? You think they will accept you? Well then go and find out. But not take grand suitcase. Not take grand suitcase.
Left it.
Listen to me. You hear? Hey, this about it's between family. It's between family. So if you know it's good for you, better just left this house one time. You pan yourself.
You know something? Oh my goodness.
That's what I say.
Panya, you see what they talk about Ellsworth? You sound racist because she Panya.
Racist? You think that's racist?
You sound racist, Ellsworth. With the way your mentality, you not reach nowhere in our life. Your granny done dead, so you need to bury that along with she.
No, you're gone too far, Martina. No, you're gone too far. No.
All right. Yeah. So if you are joining us now, what you just watched was a performance by the Youth Advocacy Through the Arts, or YATA, and we are joined by the founder, Mr. Joseph Stamp Romero, and of course our performers were Raheem Phillips, Mirna Rivero, and Shamarie Lam. Good morning, guys. Welcome to the show. It was a great performance.
Okay. Yeah.
Morning, guys. Morning.
I know. What a cliffhanger there. Seriously, what happens next?
Good already.
But thank you for being here. And of course, that was a portion of the play that you put together, Wake. And that's going to be on stage at the latter part of this month. Joseph, let's just start from the beginning. You know, you put together YATA a couple years now, and you've been trying to grow a movement of the arts. Yes. But with a purpose. Talk to me about this process.
So I think definitely the advocacy element of YATA, I don't think it's missing, but we have to be more aggressive. Yeah. There's a lot going on, and I want to thank you guys for having us this morning, because there's so much issues in the country that you could have covered, but yet you chose to sit with us, so thank you so much. But we want to be a part of that dialogue. I think that oftentimes you think that the arts is in a particular framework. You think about entertainment, and it doesn't have much social value. To some people, but it does, and so we recognizing some of the issues that's affecting young people, affecting the entire population, we want to ensure that our plays consistently address issues that affect the entire country. And so YATA as an organization continues to do plays that are provocative, that are different, that are bold and daring. Sometimes the audience doesn't understand why we have this particular approach, but we have to, because one of our mantra is, art for learning. And so that process has continued to be difficult to get young people to understand the importance of their being involved in advocacy. So people give us spaces that is not the routine or not the normal approach to the arts. Not just our play have comedy and some learning. I know if it can be good. Yes, it will. Just because it has an educational element doesn't mean it won't be good. Yeah. It's as good as any other play that's going to be just fully comedic. So.
Yeah. No, you say provocative, and clearly the piece that we saw this morning shows that. Anybody who watches this show regularly knows that I always say we struggle with looking in the mirror as a community, and we don't always like what we see. And you've touched, I think, on something that we almost never talk about, which is some of the underlying racism that takes place, whether perceived or real. Why go that route?
I think whenever you watch, you may read anything on Facebook, I think there needs to be a proper discussion in Belize about race or discrimination. We need to be able to have that. We need to have a constructive conversation, because I think that when you look at the behavior of the police, the behavior of people responding to the police, I think we don't always look at what that discussion can become as a community. There's so much anger, there's so much frustration, and so I think that we need to be able to say, like just like Raheem's character talked about, or Shamarie's character pointed out to Raheem's character, was what are some of the real reasons why there are some issues in that person's life? Is it just, am I just profiling you because of race, or am I profiling you because of what I've been taught to think about you as a person? So what are some of the real intricacies that we don't have the discussion that we need to have on race and discrimination as a country?
And in terms of the creative process behind these plays, does it come from personal experience? Does it come from, how are these things developed, you know?
Yeah, I think that there are two things. One, this plays inspiration for my daughter. She's 8 years old. She experienced this kind of setting, I should say, in her classroom with 8-year-old girls. You know, where 8-year-old girls were constantly calling her black. And interesting thing is that these girls were not of other ethnicity. They were the same ethnicity. And so you used to realize that, wow, at this age, that is still where we are. You compare that to what's going on in present Belize, where every time you hear a situation with a policeman, the first thing you hear is the black boy didn't get rung up, right? But but one of the things I experienced lately was I was walking on the street and I saw 3 black guys look just like me, and I was really, really scared. I didn't know what they were gonna do. I was alone. We were walking through an alley. They looked like what I would perceive as thugs. And so I realized that, you know, oftentimes we don't know what's truly happening in these interactions. And so I think it's time that we have this discussion to know what is really happening, how do we really feel, what are the real tensions that exist among cultures in this country.
And let's hear the perspective of the actors with the storyline.
Well, just wanted to add really briefly that he was going in the same part, that racism isn't always like surface level. It's not just like, oh, you black and or you Spanish, but like what Mr. Stump mentioned is like it might be a subtle mindset in your head. Like even we being black ourselves would see black people on the street and be like, and be wary, and that in itself is a form of racism. That mindset, that thought process being spread is the underlying building block, I would say, that drives racism. My character, Ellsworth, is supposed to be one of the characters who continue the tradition of wanting to stick to our own culture, and my character still feels as a hurt because of what he perceives as oppression upon him just because of the color of his skin, and he doesn't see his actions as a reason for anything. It's just because he's black, or just because of his ethnicity, and not because he doesn't want to work for what he has. And he sees his cousin Maylene as he sees her struggle to become better, to educate herself as a way of leaving blackness, as if intelligence only belongs to one race and not the black people. And you know that black people can't strive to be better without abandoning our blackness.
Okay, my character Maylene, she tries to move past this tradition that most cultures have, and the tradition is that you have to marry within this specific culture. If you're Hispanic, you have to marry a Hispanic person. If you're a Garifuna, you have to marry a Garifuna person. But my character, Maylene, she feels that you can marry who you want as long as there's love. This is a new generation. You can do what you want and how you want to. So the whole concept of racism doesn't apply to her.
But what I saw in your character, and I think it happens across all cultures, which is when someone tries to take a different path, it's very confusing to the others, and many times they can be shunned. You talk of being able to get a job, that the main hindrance for Ellsworth was not so much the color of his skin, but his work ethic. And that is something I think that many people in different cultures can be able, or even communities, be able to experience.
Right.
Joe, you know you're going to make people very uncomfortable with this storyline.
Yeah.
I have to ride to work after.
Yeah. No, I think that, and you know, that's the point. We're a catalyst for change. And so if YATA will move into a environment of real change, we have to be provocative. We have to be bold, like as I said earlier. And so I think that there are a lot of personalities who don't do justice to young people who look like me, by making them feel that they should walk around with a chip on their shoulder. And while there's real, that's what they're going through is real, and their experiences are not made up in terms of they've been through real hurt and real pain. Like my daughter has, you know, I know I have to work with her through that process. But at the same time, I don't think as a country who brags and be multicultural, we can continue to promote division, and that happens a lot. You see the Facebook posts all the time, and you see even the media personalities who don't realize their responsibility for educating a country. That happens, and that is yesterday we talked about the Emancipation Day, and I was listening to Muta Baruka, and I listened to some of the dialogue that was saying. And while, like Shamarie's character, I can never abandon who I am, I have to at the same time be real and be human. And being human means learning to be tolerant. And so I can't ask of you of another culture to do what I can't do for myself.
Now, what do you hope this will trigger in the audience? Because the conversation of how black you are, or what the color of your skin, skin tone specifically, does for your opportunities. What do you hope people in the audience will walk away with?
I hope they understand that we have to be able to recognize exactly how we interact with different cultures. How the Chinese feel at the store, how the Hispanic feel when we say pania, how the Garifuna feels when we say karabi. We have to be able to interact and interact with much more respect of each other. We have to be also honest in our discourse, and not saying, oh, the policeman is shooting up another black boy. Yes, that happens. I know that requires a discussion in itself with the police force and how they profile. But at the same time, to not be honest to say, these same black boys who the policemen sometimes are holding on the street side, you fear. We have to be able to say, how do we come to that solution? Because you won't say, they challenge the man again. But that same man or same young boy might have been the same guy that I feared walking through Euphrates the other day. And so what are some of the real discussions to say, how do we deal with the differences that we experience as a country? And really be honest about our feelings, and stop saying only the policemen or only certain people have these issues, because we all experience it. Like Raheem says, sometimes it's an underlying thing. We don't even know it's there, but it's there.
And using art to spread messages like this, how have you found the response then so far through YATA's projects? From audiences and stuff. How has it been so far? Have you seen any strong reactions? What's the feedback been like?
I think the first thing is our youth, who are the main beneficiaries. I think that they understand the importance of being accountable. You can't make excuses for how you evolve as an individual in Belize. You have to work like everybody else. Yes, there might be a certain systems that are not fair and that are not on the same level like everybody else, and that is in every country. But we can't promote that kind of mentality and decide and talk about change at the same time. When you look at the wider public, I think people respect what we try to accomplish. They understand the importance that art plays in social change. Every time you hear people talk about protesting, and people talk about an issue that they don't like, you hear it most of the time in a dialogue that doesn't allow for understanding, doesn't understand for people to reach a point of betterment.
Yeah.
We try to create a platform that allows constructive discussion with tough issues.
Yeah. The progression, I think, of YATA from moving from a group of artists doing street performances, from then it was provocative topics, to going to the stage at the Bliss. I think we're seeing a transition, but are you losing your essence, taking it out of the street and putting it in the formal Bliss with the seats and tickets?
I think we're going to definitely continue with our street plays.
Yeah.
One of our biggest, we cannot ever abandon a community approach. That's what we're honest going to do. But YATA has to find sustainability. As we begin to grow, we want to be able to, this year we're hoping to launch our nonprofit. And so we want to be able to be on the same playing field as every other nonprofit in this country who is able to get grants and able to have programs to serve a wider beneficiary number. So we have to understand the realities of that, and that means you have to be fiscally responsible for yourself at some point in time. And so these plays at the Bliss is just that. We asking to support our players so that we can support our programs.
So let's talk to the members here, and you're also youth directors as well. What is the appeal for you in being a part of this group?
Well, I have recently joined YATA about 4 months now, and this has also given me an opportunity to be involved in the community. I have a passion for acting and dancing, and with YATA I can always express myself, and YATA has definitely moved me into a better and more constructive person.
Yeah?
I'm old in the game, man.
Raheem, stop saying you're old.
In the game. I started on Youth Voices.
Yeah.
And so from then, I've always wanted to be more active in arts, because that's been my passion. From the minute I learned I could make people laugh, that's what I've wanted to do, right? That's the first thing I did before poetry, before music. It was acting. And so the minute I had the opportunity to join what was going to become YATA, it was volunteers at the time, I took the opportunity, and from then I've been doing it, and it's a good feeling, because earlier you asked what is the response, and when we put out these plays, it's a lot of comedy, it's a lot of jokes, because we know Belizeans love that, but the deep content, people cry when they see your plays. Like we know that we're telling their story that in a way that they can't, and I love coming back to and doing that over and over again. Like I can't give it up.
Well, that's really interesting. And when you tackle some of these topics in a play like Wake, has it for instance, broaden your perspective or maybe change your views on some of these topics, or maybe you learn something about yourself in how you yourself have responded, or in situations in the past, or how you were in relation to certain things, like how you viewed race, stuff like that?
Definitely. When we read the script, or when we're discussing it, workshopping it, and we're improving it as we get along, we definitely think about, because all of us, we have our own experiences that we bring it to the script, to the play, and what we haven't thought about, we do, and we analyze it internally, because when we're bringing a character to the stage, it's not superficial, it's not a flat cardboard character, it's a deep character that has history that the audience will never know. I create a long history for my character, so I put myself into there. So even if I'm not as racist as elsewhere, I don't think I am, but I analyze my character so well that I could even sympathize with him. So every character that you take on, you take on their mindset, their thought process, and so if it's good, then you expand what you think about certain topics.
Was there any part of Ellsworth that you actually identified with?
Well, I'm Black too. I've known people who make the same excuses as elsewhere. I've at some point made the same excuses as elsewhere. When I was younger, out of high school but not a stable job, I used to dress like, and I'm not making excuses for police who profile people based on how you dress, but I used to like dress with like short pants and like a baggy shirt, and then I would be stopped by police multiple times, like harassed and pushed against the side of the vehicle. And my family would be like, well, it's because you dress like that, dress different. And I would say, that's not fair, whatever. And complain, and then grow my hair out and put in earrings. That's not justification for police at all. But I felt like the minute I dress different, I stopped being profiled like that. And so I've definitely experienced what elsewhere experienced. I'm not justifying elsewhere either. But
no, but he's a real character, and we've all heard it. I think. You talked about social media. When you start to see a complaint about something, somewhere in that rant will be something about race. Whether the race that they feel is discriminating them, or because of their particular race that they are in these circumstances.
Right.
So the location that you choose, or the name of the play, Wake, that's such an important part in Belizean culture. We were joking about all the things that can happen at a wake. So talk to me about why this was the ideal setting for this play.
Okay, because you think about wake, you think about celebrating a life, right? But in this celebration of this life that has passed, there's also an element of interaction, of social interaction. So celebrating life now, present and past. And so we're looking at talking about what grandma who has died has believed, and what has to die with her, because it's not something that will build a family going forward. And Maylene character, May, believes that grandma, while I love grandma, we cannot continue her traditions, because that is not where we want to go as a family or as a country. And so wake brings people to mourn grandma, to leave behind grandma's old ways. At the same time, they have an issue with where they are now. So in the wake of grandma's death, you realize the family is more separated than ever, even though death is supposed to bring them together. And so all that happens in the midst of comedy and some dramatic revelations of who these people are that call themselves family and what divides them. When
I saw that, I thought of all the possible craziness that can happen at a wake. First of all, there's a lot of drinking, till early hours in the morning. And while death does bring us together physically, you bring all those relatives you haven't talked to for a long time, that you have beef with, show up. Then there's all the issues of granny land, granny house. Am I hitting the nail on the head here? Even the suitcase is an issue. So we've heard all these stories. Are these all things that you're going to bring to life? And
for us, the play takes place going to the wake.
Okay.
So while the wake is a part of it, for us, the idea of preparing for grandma's funeral, coming to the wake, is actually getting themselves prepared for what will happen as they come together face to face, discussing what the legacy of hate that grandma has left behind. For her own reasons, grandma has died with some hate, some hurt, and so that has created who she was. But we explore the plot that they coming to the wake. So the narrative goes, they are getting ready for this wake, and in the midst of that, you see all the fallouts. And they come to the point of the wake now, and you realize that, man, we can't celebrate grandma's death, but we're not together as a family. But you see that from the play begins, that this was about to happen, that this wake was about to be a disaster.
How do you integrate comedy into something like this? Even when you did plays on sexual violence and teenage pregnancy, it's hard to imagine addressing an issue so complex, but then still laughing in between. It almost feels impolite.
I think you're right. I think, I look at plays colorfully, which pretty much means that every narrative has different points in the story. And so if you have different points in the story, you have different characters who play their parts in the story. Therefore, in the midst of your pain, there'll be people who are still having fun, who are still laughing. But we bring that together in different scenes, so you can get a really good at what life looks like. And so in our our plays that describe that talk about rape, talk about gang violence, and plays like Wake, we look at how we allow audiences to see life as it is. We don't narrow in a particular topic. And plus we understand the Belizean audience. you know, for a long time we've been doing these productions and we get feedback all the time.
Yeah.
And we say, hey, that scene was good, but I think you need to lighten up a little bit. You need to shift, you know. So we listen to the audience and say, okay, good, guys, we dove in too close to with this. Let's allow ourselves to expand this character a little bit and make it a little more not acceptable to the audience because we want to be challenge them, but allow them to feel that they can stay for the entire production.
Yeah, yeah. So they still can connect.
Right.
Yeah. Now, who are some of the standout characters in the play?
Definitely Baba.
Baba.
Baba is the grandfather. Baba is left to carry on grand's legacy of hate. But Baba is going to have to face up with Maylene because Maylene and Baba are in different places in their life right now. But Baba is played by Randall Shepard, and Randall is an attorney who loves acting. He was here the last time. And he enjoys what he does, and so Baba is exciting to look at. I think we have Garobo. Garobo is a drummer, no? And he just hangs around Ellsworth, and he believes that Ellsworth character works for him. You know, you can't find a job, neither me. You know, and so Garobo is one of our comic relief along with Ellsworth's character. I think another character is Glenise, the daughter. Glenise points out what's obvious in the family. Like if you think something about somebody, like for example in a scene, Glenise calls one of the characters Picky Head. You know, but the mother was saying it but not wanting the person to say. But Glenise says it. So in her innocence, Glenise points out those differences that we don't like to talk about, and she gets in trouble for it. But she does it in such an innocent and hilarious way that it seems laughable. At the same time, you realize it's not the child's fault. She's pointing, she's doing and saying.
She's vocalizing the whispers.
But the adults are whispering.
So Maylene, why did you come and try to shake things up?
All right.
Well, basically, my character, Maylene, she's tired of this whole idea of letting your color of your skin getting in the way of your dreams. Maylene, she has recently graduated from university and she's a teacher, but she wants to be something. She wants to be somebody in life, and all this burden and responsibility is placed on her. And even though she's really young, she has to be really mature for her age. So instead of getting married or dating someone, Maylene is stuck taking care of Baba, her uncle, and she is stuck there taking all the responsibility, and she has to be the one to plan the wake and the funeral and find all the money and finances on her own because Ellsworth, no work. No work.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
And what's it like behind the scenes? You know, developing this project, rehearsing. What's that process like? What's the relationship between the cast, the plot?
It's fun, exciting, and frustrating. No, as an artist, being among other artists, man, is the best feeling. Talented, smart people, they make it worthwhile because it's a lot of work. Because we want to impress the audience. We want to bring quality because a lot of times, right, in the past it's mostly in the past a youth run play, right? So people might look at it and say that, you know, it might not be as high quality because it's kids, but like we bring caliber, and Joe is a perfectionist. It's never done until it's on stage. And so
I don't understand why he whispered that to you just now, right?
so it's work. And that could be frustrating, but it's also it's really fun, and you want to come to every rehearsal.
Now, tell me about the organization itself. So you have 19 members, you said?
Yeah, we're at 19 now. Growing. We're still doing auditions. We always open to auditions, and people call me, Facebook me. I always set up a time for audition. We're expanding to YATA community, which is giving older, much mature adults, I should say, because I'm older.
Mature youths.
You know, mature adults an opportunity to be a part of what YATA does. So there's YATA as it is, the it's as it's known, young people driven, but also we want now to connect with parents and grandmothers and grandfathers who want to be a part of what we do, because I think it's time. I know one of the things that Randall mentioned to me, that he wanted to see more faces, that he think, and he thought that we could do a better job in having more faces on stage.
Yeah.
And so I think on that challenge. And so as an organization, we just continue to try and get better, to try and ensure that other nonprofits know that they can always partner with YATA to further their mission and their vision that they have, because we want to ensure that social change happens, and that we're a part of that. And so we don't want to be left out.
Yeah. Now, I was trying to lure you into the conversation of moving away from the communities. And I was hoping that you'd mention that you do have events, and I can always remember where you shut off, a part of the street, and you host activities for the kids in the community, and that was actually really successful.
Yeah, Walls Down.
Yeah, Walls Down.
Yeah,
thank you.
Walls Down. So pretty much there are different tiers, different pillars in YATA.
Yeah.
One of the things that we created was Walls Down, and the idea for Walls Down was to allow these guys and other people who would join us who are not actors to be part of community initiatives like Walls Down, going to community like Mayflower, that some people are scared to go into, and have these and work with these young people, these kids in this community. We just did last year Walls Down Christmas, along with Department of Youth Services and UNICEF, and that was an initiative to intentionally to interact with the people of Mayflower. To show that end of the day we're all people. We refuse to accept what was shown, what has been reflected of Mayflower, and let that fear create how we respond to people of Mayflower or anybody else in any community. And so Walls Down allowed us to go into St. Martin's, allowed us to go into Port Loyola and do these events with young people and kids and youth as well. Yeah.
What was that experience like for you guys?
We weren't a part of it.
They were fired for that one.
Momentarily.
Walls Down. So I invited other people to be a part of Walls Down, who wouldn't come to a YATA event. So I wanted to see. So I know that people would label every time they say, "Oh, one of the arts." We wanted to expand people's volunteerism, and so we allowed people to say, "You want to be part of what we do? Okay, here's Walls Down." And so that was an invitation for people who were never interacted with YATA before, to come and be a part of a new initiative. And so that continues this year. We're hoping to continue what Walls Down has been doing in the communities as well.
So if you want to be a part of YATA and you're a bad actor, you shift them over to Walls Down.
If you don't want to go on stage.
Now, what is your long-term goal? I mean, you said you want to establish yourself as a nonprofit. Is it to be able to have continuous productions? Is it to be able to host events like Walls Down, have opportunities for your members? Where do you see this going?
We want to be able to have a platform for youth within the region, representing Belize, and internationally and beyond that. Presently, we're working with a group called the 2 Cents Movement, or we will be, from Trinidad. And their mission and vision is similar to ours, using art, but they use poetry as a platform for young people to talk about issues. And so we're hoping that can build more partnerships within the region. So we're hoping that YATA becomes not just a community voice anymore, but beyond that. And so as we establish ourselves as a nonprofit going forward, we want to be able to have programs that other countries can see and use as a model as well.
Fantastic, yeah. And where do you see it beyond just being a stage performance? I mean, these are the kind of things that you can get into a community and do team building exercises just through arts.
Art therapy.
Yeah.
Art therapy. I presently work at the hostel, and one of the things that we're working on exploring is how to use art as a form of therapy, especially when it comes to young people who have been traumatized, who are living in traumatic environments, who have lived. And to use it as a way to inform them about their own decisions. So we're definitely hoping to be able to partner with the School Counseling Association to be able to have a art therapy program using the arts, not just as a form of, go do a drama about it, but what are some of the steps that goes into the healing process along with what people learned through this drama. Right now, Belize, who's a great partner of ours, is doing a trauma awareness program in the schools. We would want to continue to be a part where I took that training, and we want to expand that training to more teachers, and having YATA being more involved in it, and also to expand it to the police department, we're hoping that we can begin to understand what are some of their traumas and how they interact with the public who's traumatized already. So we're hoping that art therapy becomes one of the engines of YATA for people to see how art can transform not just a community, not just a nation, but an individual.
And speaking of the long-term effects in the works that you do, have you found like a big level of interest among the young people that you work with who really want to be involved in projects like this?
Oh yeah, every time I cast somebody, they're excited. I mean, Shamarie comes with her own motivation, and Shamarie loves, she wants to do marketing. She'll be doing marketing, right? At sixth form. So she has her own individual, interest of what she wants to achieve in life, but she also comes to YATA loving what we do and being absorbed in what we're trying to achieve. So we always have young people who come in and say, I love what you guys are doing, and we want to help out and do it better.
Have you ever, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that we can still use some more young people.
Yes, we're always open. We're always open.
Young or young at heart?
Yeah.
And we move beyond the city too. We move in the city as well. So we have Brianna from Kaya. Hey Brianna. So we're trying to allow YATA to reflect a multicultural society now. So we're trying to not have. At first, I think YATA looked like me in the inception, but I think that doesn't reflect what Belize really is. And plus, I get like Mirna, who was on the stage a while ago, gives us a sense of what happens in other cultures for young people that have my experience. And so that's good.
And actually, that's where I was going. Like, how much have you discovered? We only know our own realities and what we come from. So how we interact with the world is based on our own experience. When you start to hear, perhaps from Mirna, and you mentioned the Chinese community or the Asian community, how much have you learned, or how much has it changed your own mentality in seeing what others go through as well?
That's a very good question, Raheem.
Well, I want to tackle that question. Joe and I, a lot of times we have clash between views, and it's based on that question, where I agree that we need to have it's supposed to be more diverse, and we need to have understand other people's perspective. And so sometimes we discuss whether like what is the purpose of YATA? Is it to give a voice to people who are from the south side that look like us, who have less opportunities? Because we might want to include everybody who comes from north and south side, people who have no opportunities, people who have a lot of opportunities, people who are black, people who are clear black, people who are Spanish, people who are Asian. And so, as Joe was mentioning, he has an inclusive perspective, and so do I, in principle. But I also have this feeling in myself that I want to give more opportunity to people who don't have it, who most of the time look like me. So that's my own struggle that I'm still struggling with, where I agree, but also I have my own reservations because I know that.
And so in this play, when you hear the discrimination, and clearly you have to act out a part of it, whether it's in the Asian community or someone who's Latina, with Mirna earlier, does it evoke anything in you? Do you see things differently? I mean, because that's the part we don't talk about. People will say, oh, it's because I'm black, but then they'll walk into a store and say, hey, China man, China gal. And it's just, and God forbid you tell them something about it, because you're gonna be.
It's true. It's true.
So it goes both ways, and so I wanted to ask, just do you have that in your? You called it your workshop talk, I think.
Well, we do. I was saying because I don't want you to give anything away.
Oh, okay,
No, but a lot of times, black people think that. I mean, first of all, racism is not just like a personality or character, but like a system of oppression. That's been that clear. But prejudice does not belong to one race. Like black people could be prejudiced against other race, and we don't think that we can. We ignore it. We said that, oh, this, like, we can't use. We hate if other people use the N-word towards us, but we go and say China, hey China, and kids do it.
Throw the money for the Chinese money.
And yell at them.
Curse them out.
Kids will say yes sir and yes ma'am to everybody except the Chinese vendor at the store, and treat them like they're less. And then when they reflect that back at us because of their own experience, we take it as, oh, China man racist, and it's not fair. But I don't want to give anything.
Yeah.
Well,
That's something we don't talk about, or even within our own cultures. You know, if we go back into history, the built-in discrimination of Garifuna versus Creole, I mean, that's historic.
That's historic.
And so I don't know how much of it exists today or how much people identify with it today.
Oh, that's fun. That's interesting because I come from a family that's multicultural. My grandmother and my dad had a huge tension because he was Creole and she was Garifuna. And so that's interesting that you said that because I lived that. And so I think that deep down it's not just, the reality for me is not just saying, hey, Belize, you know, something, black people or people who are Hispanic or Chinese not just get along. I'm talking about something that's real to me, that experiencing police profiling of my color, seeing police profile now young people who are Hispanic because they dress the same way as a black boy dress. That's a whole different dynamic that's shifting now. And how do we discuss that when, who talks for the guy who's Hispanic, who rough, just like you? I was like, wow, because they're black, so how about you? Oh, I don't know, because I just so. But what do we, you know, how do we discuss police brutality when it comes to profiling in that particular context when we use on the race all the time? So we have to be able to know what those discussions are going to be. So I think that that we want to evoke those discussions. We are here to do that as a creating that platform as YATA.
Have you ever encountered something in one of the plays where you're like, maybe that's going too far. That's really going to rub the audience wrong?
that's not our job as artists.
I don't know.
I do. I have to always, because Raheem will tell a truth like as a truth.
Oh, I know.
And
he's
I go
a
like,
spoken word
artist. So, but I always have to aware of where that person is in the room at the point in their life. I have to be respectful of that. And so if I give you too much that you're not ready for, I might lose you. And so I can't say, you have to hear this, no, because I write it, because it's true. No, I try to be very cognizant of where you are in the room, how much realness or how much truth you can take in this moment. Allow you to gradually get there. Otherwise, I lose you. My intention is not to lose you. It is to educate you.
Yeah. What topic have you always wanted to do but you feel that the audience is not ready for?
Let me see. I think the next play, Come Home, church. Church community versus what's going on in community now. What's going on with violence and what we as Christians believe, or how some of us respond to the country needing unity, and how people decide that this is my youth and this is your youth and this is saved youth, this is unsaved youth, and that kind of stuff. That's going to be tough because I'm a part of the church community.
I was going to say, I know you're a God-fearing man. They might not let you back in afterwards.
It's a part of the community. But I guess I have an interesting experience because at the same time, I was 21 going into the church. I was never born in the church. So my experience has been an unsaved youth, if you want, if that's and it's youth who's in the church. So I have that experience to share, and what the youths who are still who are my friends, young people who are my friends now, and my part of my group, how they feel about certain things that happens on the street, and how Christians respond to it. So Come Home is going to be a tough one.
Christian.
Yeah,
I didn't miss that.
Because I think that for me it's a lifestyle. I don't try to. I needed to change my life for the sake of living right and being better. I don't think that I have to tell you when to do that or how to do that. That's not my job. So Come Home will be a tough play to tell. But I'm going to tell it. It has to be told. You can't have a country that doesn't come together because we have different belief systems. That's if you're in pain and I believe something, why does that create a border for empathy? That to me that's not human. Yeah. So that's just what something.
It's a good answer.
Yeah. You're looking forward to that play, aren't you?
Well.
So how big is the cast?
Wake is 11 cast strong, mixed ages.
Okay.
This time, so I have some people from YATA still. Shamarie is lead this year, and we have other young people, other folks who've come on to YATA who've been casted to play some of the older roles this year.
Okay. And when will it be? Where do people get tickets?
Yep. So August 23rd and 24th at the Bliss at 7 o'clock p.m. You can get tickets will be available at the Bliss, also at Youth Department and my office, Regent Street, the Department of Youth Services, which is 55 Regent Street. So they can get the Bliss, or they can get tickets at the Youth Department from me.
All right.
And the cost will also have tickets for family and friends.
Okay. Well, we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for just a little bit of that sample this morning. Definitely it makes us want to know what's going to happen next.
Thank you guys
I'm
so much
looking
for
forward
having
to see
me.
you in the first row.
Keep up the great work. Well, I don't like that head tilt from the front, so you might not. But thank you for being here.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys so much.
We're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, it'll be for Brock It Down with Jenny, so stay tuned.